From Abuja to Lagos, Nigerians marched on the streets of some major cities across the country to demand good governance and improved living conditions. The group defied police order and made their statements on the streets. My guest this week looks at the state of affairs in the country. Hello there. Thank you for joining me on the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuki. Under the aegis of the I Stand With Nigeria, celebrities and civil society groups led Nigerians to the streets to demand for good governance and a holistic approach in the fight against corruption. On this week's edition of the program, we speak to one of the conveners of the protest. But coming up next, large number of protesters amid heavy presence of security operatives staged a peaceful protest on the streets of Abuja over the current state of the affairs in Nigeria. They were countered by another group under the name I Stand With Buhari, and they are saying the president has done well. Take a listen. Amid heavy security, protesters took over the Unity Fountain in the nation's capital to stake their stand on the state of affairs in the nation. On one hand is the I Stand With Buhari protesters, who are insisting that the federal government has done well in piloting the affairs of the country.
The vulnerable, the extremely poor, are now being paid 5,000 naira monthly stipends to keep them going. Under Buhari's regime, he promised to fight corruption. Is he not fighting it?
He's fighting it.
He promised to recoup our money from those that have stolen it. Is he not doing it?
He's doing it.
He promised to deliberately transfer wealth from the government to the vulnerables. Is he not doing it?
On another side of the ground are the much anticipated I Stand With Nigeria group. Led by members of some civil society groups, the protesters listed some of the shortcomings of the government and demanded a change in some of the policies of the government to make life easy for the citizens.
It's the same issues that you discuss in the market, that the price of essential commodities have skyrocketed beyond the reach of even the rich Nigerian. Talk of the ordinary Nigerian. We are saying also that the fight against corruption must be all-inclusive.
From the Unity Fountain, the two groups head for the presidential villa. But their march was ended by armed policemen who formed a barricade at the entrance to the presidential villa. But the vice president, who just concluded a meeting with the economic management team, told journalists that the federal government is aware of the challenges Nigerians are facing and steps are being taken to address them.
Some are out in the streets protesting. Many of our people are saying the same things, that things are hard, that things are difficult. But I'd like to say to every Nigerian that we hear you loud and clear. The government is one that is determined to give the ordinary man a fair deal. You have the right to live well and decently, and we are committed to making that happen. But years of deterioration and corruption cannot be remedied overnight. But again, I must emphasize that it is our business and our duty to ensure that we put the Nigerian economy on a path of sustained growth, and that is exactly what we're determined to do.
But the I Stand With Nigeria protesters are insisting that government must address the issues they have highlighted as they plan to take to the streets once again on May 29, 2017, when the administration will be 2 years in office. In our interview, my guest, a former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, speaks on their expectations from the government after the protests. Professor Chidi Odinkalu, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, you very much spearheaded the One Voice Nigeria, otherwise known as I Stand With Nigeria protest. Really, what is your perception on the state of affairs of the nation?
It's been a joint effort, and I think we've got to give Two-Face the credit for having stirred a consciousness amongst Nigerians. There are lots of other colleagues who laid life on line and put a lot of things into it. I was just a supporter and a participant, like every other person that showed up. And I think the state of the country is cause for concern for everybody who loves Nigeria. A lot of people talked about pro-Buhari and anti-Buhari protests. I certainly wasn't into any anti-Buhari protests. That's not my issue. This is a pro-Nigeria protest.
What were you fighting for?
A better country. We can be better, can't we? This is not what people looked forward to in 2015. It's not about not having hardship in the country. No. It is that when we have hardship, leadership should understand and empathize and talk to us. Okay? Now, when you seek to articulate this and you get arrogance from the same people who came to our people to look for votes and beg for votes and hustle for votes barely 18, 19 months ago, there's a problem. When people are dying because they can't afford 200 naira to pay hospital bills, kids are falling out of school because their parents cannot pay school fees anymore, parents cannot sell food, evacuate food to the market because there are no roads, and foods are decaying at Katsina Allah Junction or Boko Junction or in Ogurimagongo because we can't get the food to the market. And you can't find anybody in government engaging with you on these livelihood issues. I don't care which party is in power. I couldn't be bothered.
You think the body language of the government right now is that of arrogance?
I really am not interested in body language. I think it is silly to purport to run a country by body language. We want people to talk to us. When white people are bombed in Berlin and Brussels and Paris, the president talks to white people in Paris and Brussels and Berlin. He doesn't talk to Nigerians when our people are killed in southern Kaduna, in Agatu, in Onisha, in Zaria. Rather, we have Femi coming to tell us the president cannot talk about it. And these are not Nigerians dying as ones and twos. We hear people say when a Nigerian is killed, what? It's just 347 that were killed. It's just 236 that were bombed in Iran. I'm sorry. One Nigerian killed is one Nigerian too many. I want to hear that from the president.
Were you disappointed with the outcome of the protest?
Not at all. Quite the contrary. There was a great deal of investment into psychological warfare, into beating down the people, into telling us we could not protest. A government that we have set up with our thumbs cannot tell us we cannot protest, because setting up an opposition party to replace an incumbent party is an act of protest. So the government does not have the wherewithal at all. That's the first thing. And that was why it was important that people came out. And people didn't just come out. Initially, don't forget, the thing was do something in Lagos and maybe consider Abuja. Our people took it over. We had people contacting us, wanting to set up protest points in different parts of the country. There was Ibadan, for instance. There were lots of other places we had not bargained for, where citizens just took this thing on and said, well, we've got to get a message to government, you are on a yellow card. And people, quite honestly, the reality is the biggest thing that pushed people over was the president's letter to the National Assembly about the secretary to the government of the Federation. This is a president who told us he was going to fight corruption. We believed him. The country did. And here he is, exonerating, defending, trying to justify, invent technicalities for somebody who has been accused of undermining at least 2 of his cardinal programs. IDPs in the Northeast relates to security. Stealing money for them relates to corruption. Here is somebody who is close, the cabinet secretary, accused of doing this, And what is the president doing? Offering up technicalities and not even acknowledging that these are very serious allegations. He didn't do that when Bukola Saraki was accused. He didn't do that when the judges were accused. Why would he be inventing technicalities? Because this man is close to the presidency? That's unacceptable. Nobody's asking for magic. Okay? Governance is difficult. And I have to respect the people who offer themselves up to do it, even when I don't agree with what they're doing or how they're doing it. So this is not about insulting people in government. Let's be clear. And I wouldn't be interested in insulting anybody who in government. It takes a lot to be in government, particularly when you have volunteered to serve.
You see, the government right now is looking at ways to check the rising cost of food. As a matter of fact, a committee has been set up, in that respect. Is this not bringing some measure of hope in any way?
It's not about, I don't want to denigrate the well-meaning efforts of anybody in government or of government itself. I want to be very clear about that. Now, the cost of food responds to fundamentals in the political economy. I don't think it's a matter for a committee. That's my honest view, and I'm already on record on that. Why is that so? The cost of food responds to infrastructure, transport inputs, security inputs, the support, the farming inputs. Okay, now when these are there, and of course energy for storage and conservation, and then when these are there, you can easily work out the cost of food. But when your fundamentals of the political economy are non-existent, a committee is not going to fix these things. Okay, it's the same thing. We want to borrow money to finance some of the things we propose, intergenerational projects, medium to long-term projects. But you see, nobody's going to give you money when you are running a vast recurrent deficit. Okay? We are currently running a massive recurrent deficit. Basically, we are borrowing money to pay salaries of civil servants who constitute less than 2% of the population of the country. And with their dependents, you're still looking at less than 8% of the population of the country. Those are the people whom we are servicing. That means that all of our capex and a good chunk of our recurrent expenditure, that's capital expenditure as capex, plus a good chunk of our recurrent expenditure is borrowed. Now, who is going to give you money to be paying salaries? You cannot get anybody giving you $13 billion when you haven't brought your recurrent deficit under control. It just says you are not serious for the big game. You're not prepared. Now, how are you going to bring recurrent expenditure under control? You're going to take an axe to the costs of government. Now, but when you want to do that, people will say, oh no, our ethnic group is going to be affected. The Igbos are going to be purged. The Fulanis are going to be destroyed. The Hausas are going to be run out of town. Oh, the Yorubas, they hate us too. Nobody wants to do what it takes to put us in a place for us to begin Tier 2. That is the big elephant in the room, and we've got to engage it. Government is not willing to engage us in that and say, how do we do something drastic right now to bring down the cost of government? That's why nobody is going to give us any credit. And if they give us credit, it's going to be at such prohibitive rates, the country is going to bankrupt. And that is why we don't have money to finance this year's budget. Period. This is the reality. Go up, go down. We are not illiterates. We are not economic illiterates. I can run numbers. Okay? So I'm not doing politics. I'm not interested in the politics of this matter. This is about the fact that Nigerians are suffering, and somebody needs to communicate to us and tell us this is bloody serious, because it is.
You know, right now the government is on the economic recovery plan.
I've read it. It's 101 pages.
Yes.
I've read it.
That is supposed to bring some measure of relief, about 7%, you know.
I can speak to you from the top page. No.
What is your perspective on
the top page of that document is marked confidential. How can you be doing economic reconstruction and growth program for Nigeria and you mark it confidential? Is it not about us? So the first thing, let them delete confidential from the document. Take it to our people, because this is about us. Who told you that if you are reconstructing and growing Nigeria, the ideas in that document should be confidential? So from the top page, I've got problems with it. I told you I've read it. I can tell you it is 101 pages. Yes? So I have tried to engage with government. And I do believe we must engage with government because it's our government. We don't have any choice.
All right, hold on with your thoughts. We're still with the former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. Please join us again on the state of affairs of the nation.